Hello everyone, a very good morning to you and welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona, where we have our qualifying about to get underway for our magnificent Ferrari Challenge round that comes here. Staying in Spain, you will recall it was but a couple of weeks ago we were in Valencia, but here we are now in the Circuit de Catalunya. Welcome! And Pirelli AM drivers. And here is the track. It's reconfigured for this season. 4.6 kilometers, 14 turns, 6 left, 7 right. The Circuit de Catalunya was actually built in 1991. It's here in Montmeló within the Barcelona metropolitan area in Catalonia. I guess it's about 40 minutes drive or 28 kilometers from central Barcelona. Here are the drivers that you'll be seeing. Jasin Ferati, Max Mugelli, Andrew Morrow, Danilo Del Favro, Herbert Guys, Dylan Medler, welcome back Dylan, Quinn Wiedlisbach, David Akabadze. Then it's Björn Grossman, Rafael Duran, Felix Herziger, Michael Verhagen, Nobuhiro Imada, David Gostner, Marco Zanassi, and Otto Blank. Before we see the likes of Franco Girolami, Gilles Renmans, Angelo Fontana, Martin Havas, Hanno Laskowski, Armin Arifpour, Vincenzo Scarpetta, and Hendrik Viol. If you see white graphics, it's a Pirelli AM driver. If it's red graphics, it is a Pirelli driver, and they are making their way out on track right now. We saw in the previous session how drivers left it quite late in the session before going out. That caught 1 or 2 drivers out, and I wonder if that might impact some in terms of how they will strategize their qualifying session. Just 30 minutes on the clock, of which the first minute is almost gone already. There is Rui Aguas to the right hand side of your picture you saw before now. A race suit to complement the car colours of Danilo Del Favro, who is one of our Pirelli AM drivers for Penske Sportwagen Hamburg, of course, in Germany, which is where my colleague alongside me hails from. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, not Hamburg quite, but Germany, yeah, and we've got a strong contingent of German and German-speaking drivers, the likes of Hanno Laskowski, Otto Blank, Björn Grossman, obviously, Herbert Guys, Danilo, and our Swiss contingent, very, very strong, especially in Trofeo Pirelli with Felix Hirzinger and Jasin Ferati. So, lots of drivers, 24 in all. We saw a very, very slow start to the Copper Shell qualifying a little bit earlier, I think it's fair to say.
Yes, that's kind of what I was indicating, and I just wonder, Nico, whether, when I mentioned that earlier on, whether some of our Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers will have looked at that qualifying session and thought, do you know what? Initially, we were going to leave it a little while before we go out. Perhaps we're going to go out early on. Rafael Duran certainly has done that, and Martin Havas, who we spent some time with at dinner last night, has also gone out.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We've got 2 of the drivers already out, which I think took more than 10 minutes in Copper Shell qualifying for the first car to even file out of pit lane. So Rafael Duran and Martin Havas, the first 2. Martin Havas just completed his outlap. We are being told by race control that the track limit of Apex in turn 13 are monitored by cameras. And maybe that's an opportunity to talk about track limits. It has already caught out drivers in Copper Shell. And it's an ever-present topic in motorsport, often controversial. But what you can say is that it is administered and adjudged very consistently by virtue of Claudio Garovini, our race director, being present and being in charge at all the races, so the drivers know where they stand. And in this instance, it's monitored by camera, so there is not even human judgment involved. If you're on the right side, that means 2 wheels within the white lines, you're fine. If you're not, then that track will get disallowed.
That being disallowed, in my opinion, really costly in this qualifying, when the drivers will want to do as fewer laps as possible to conserve tyres. The reason for that is the tyres that they qualify on will be the tyres that they start the race on, in fact complete the race on. As we look at Jasin Ferati, who is our Trofeo Pirelli points leader. He had a fantastic time of it in Valencia. He'll be hoping to repeat that success here in Barcelona as well. Jasin Ferati then driving for the Emil Frey Racing team. Michael Verhagen. We had quite a laugh with Michael and his family last time we were in Valencia. And Michael then, he was hugely successful, and he'll be hoping to repeat that here in Barcelona as well. So Martin Havas gives us our first meaningful time, which isn't really meaningful because it's a 1:59.51, which is far away from where we expect the times to be. The Fahrer speed camera indicative of just how quick these cars are down the start-finish straight here in the Ferrari Challenge. The car, of course, the 296 Challenge car, and the Scuderia Prague driver, Martin Havas, then out there with the clock running on him now. We're going to see a time certainly better than that he's pushed so far. What have we got? Still only two drivers out there, Martin Havas and Armin Arifpour, who has gone out now. Rafael Duran went out and came back in again. So as you can see, purple sectors for sector 1, which means that Martin is improving as we predicted. The last lap time that we got from him was not really a competitive lap. It was more a half installation lap as he continued his warm-up cycle of all the elements of the car and himself before really trying to push as hard as he can. He's got the benefit of completely clear tarmac, and you can see that benefit has already manifested in a time that's 2.3 quicker than his previous time. So Martin Havas then on a trajectory for improvement, but much as though we wondered whether the drivers would look at the last session, which was for our shell drivers, and think whether they would perhaps go out a tad earlier. Clearly, they've chosen not to do so, as 22 of the cars remain in the pit lane, as Martin Havas now breaks the timing gain with a 1:47.908, so improving by 3 seconds. Still not a time where we would expect it to be, as Quinn Wiedlisbach, the Emil Frey Racing driver, is making his way out of the pit lane right now. And great to see Quinn Wiedlisbach back, as it were, as Vincenzo Scarpetta then in the Radici Automobili Ferrari Challenge 296 car. All of these drivers, of course, are linked with a dealership and a team that prepare and maintain these cars, including that of Max Mugelli, who just last night, while I was filming a piece to camera for our highlights program, Max Mugelli was pedaling up from turn 10 on a bike like a thing possessed. I mean, it's fair to say Max is not the youngest driver out there, but his physical fitness is such that he was absolutely full chat flat on this bicycle climbing uphill, to be followed by his daughter Sarah, 13, on an electric scooter. I just shouted to the best of my ability, "Go, Max," which really rather upset the producers, where I was supposed to be filming a piece to camera and got distracted momentarily. But so well done to Max Mugelli, who had a good time of it in Valencia, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a good time of it. Made a fantastic move on Felix Hilsiger, our serial winner, who had been first upset by Vincenzo Scarpetta and Brno, and with a magnificent drive. And I mean, that overtake from Max Mugelli in Valencia certainly ranks very, very high on the Moves of the Year chart, or my personal one. There isn't an official one, which maybe that's something we should do. I'm in RF4. We follow around the track, and coming towards the end of the second sector, the first one a personal best. Not that these times are that indicative yet, and you can see there is still gaps of multiple seconds between the drivers. Certainly something we will see come down before too long, but 8.5 minutes have elapsed, and some teams are still taking a measure of what's the temperature of the tarmac.
Egg frying temperature, I would suggest, is where we'll reach before the end of race activities today. Armin Arifpour then, who drives with the Rille and Schnauk team, which rolls off the tongue. And Armin Arifpour rolls the car across the timing line And this is going to be the lap that he considers more competitive. As somebody videos the lap right now, it is indeed Team Boss from Ferrari Racing. And there you can see Hanno Laskowski now. Entertainer of the Day would be a title that Hanno could certainly attest to, because he has given us some fantastic moments. Not necessarily all of them on the tarmac, as he's explored various parts of the track, but he's entertained us on his way.
And the periphery, but also had great success last time in Valencia, was on the podium, and
richly deserved, Hanno.
Absolutely. And with Hanno, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say feast or famine, but he's certainly entertaining in multiple ways, as Quinn Wittelsbach, and sorry for missing his name in the contingent of German-speaking drivers on the grid. Sorry, Quinn. And he's the first one of the Pirelli drivers to put a time on the board. Again, we're far away from where we think that we will have times that the drivers want to have stick come the end of the session, as the first 10 minutes are now exactly elapsed. First sector, Quinn Wittelsbach, certainly expect an improvement from him, and indeed it comes in bunches, more than 4 seconds quicker than the last time around, as he takes that eternal right-hander.
Never stops.
Never ever stops. There's a song in there somewhere. And then that left-hander dips down. It's very, very easy to just exceed the track there, and the gravel bed it's only one of the spots where the gravel bed seems awfully close to the track, and this is another one. If you just take a little bit too much momentum through that left-hander, you're effectively already in the gravel coming on the other side. This back straight coming towards the Lakasha turn, which used to be that almost hairpin-like kink. There you can see Quinn Wittelsbach. He's now, dare I say, another 3 seconds quicker. Very, very quick time from him compared to his previous one. The highest part of the track, and then where we used to take the chicane, we now take the sweeping portion of the track all around and onto the start-finish straight. Another gravel bed that really beckons the drivers. Quinn Wittelsbach, 20 seconds quicker than his previous one. So 1:42.966, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's much more where we would expect it to be. The margin of 20 seconds is not one to really be terribly excited about, because Quinn is only now getting into the realms of where we would expect to see our Pirelli drivers. And Ferrari Racing, the engineer Quinn Wittelsbach, they also engineer our Trofeo Pirelli points leader, which is Jasin Ferati. And right now, going out on track, we can see Hendrik Viol, the Scuderia Prague driver. I was talking to Hendrik yesterday, and Claudia, his partner. And Hendrik, you can see, is just going about warming everything up here. Nothing like racing or qualifying speed yet, but he'll gradually build momentum in the car and build temperature into the brakes. And that temperature will dissipate out through the rims and onto the tires and bring everything up to the kind of warmth that they need to operate at their best. This is Marco Zanassi, driver of the number 69 car, who very unusually had a forgettable Valencia. He had a torrid time of it, and he'll be hoping to right the wrongs of the first edition in Spain for 2025, and hope that the second edition will be slightly better for him. Stefano Guy there, you can see, with the headphones on. Just having a conversation there on the Martin Havas car. Martin Havas, engineered by Scuderia Prague and coached by Stefano Guy, who knows a thing or two about driving a Ferrari very, very successfully. And here you can see Quinn Wittelsbach trying to improve on his 1:42.813. The risk-reward quotient with regards to tyres, because the drivers will be using the tyres that they race on in qualifying, so therefore the minimum number of laps that they expose those tyres to will give them some really good rubber during the course of the race. So that's a factor that is considered by the drivers. At the moment, Armin Arifpour and Martin Havas have done 5 laps apiece. Quinn Vettel is back and Rafael Duran have done 4 laps. Vincenzo Scarpetta on 2, and we know that Hendrik Viol and Franco Girolami have done 1 lap apiece.
Yeah, indeed. And in the Shell qualifying earlier, it was about this point in the session at half distance where a lot of the drivers decided to come out. Effectively, what was an empty track one moment was full with all the cars just a minute later. So let's see how that develops with just under half of the cars out on the track now.
You make a very good point. It was at this stage in the previous qualifying session, but you're talking about a significantly lower number of cars that were out for Shell. If all the Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers turn out at the same time, you're looking at a circuit with 24 cars on it. And therefore, you're going to get this scenario where Hanno Laskovski is tucked in behind Jasin Ferati as Rafael Duran tries to go through on the 2 of them. What I'm trying to say is, in simplified terms, traffic over the final 15 minutes is going to be a heck of a problem.
Absolutely. We already see that 3 cars are already on their outlaps since we started talking about this very topic, and we expect quite a few more. But the drivers who are currently out there will try to maximize the fact that the track is not quite as busy yet, and Girolami is in that final sector coming towards that short back straight, and we will get a measure of where he is after sector 2 in but a few moments. 2 personal bests, half a second off the pace, and that's half a second off the pace in class. As Vincenzo Scarpetta now has put a time on the board, just 2/10 off the provisional pole by Quinn Wittelsbach. So we get more drivers out on the track, we get more reasonable times on our timing screen, and Franco Girolami is gonna try and join that. For the moment, still 14 seconds off the overall best time. That will come down in bunches. P5 for the moment, P3 now, and significantly more relevant. P3 in class, P3 overall.
So top 3 drivers are all Pirelli drivers. The best of the AM drivers is Rafael Duran, ahead of Armin Arifpour and David Gosner at the moment, with Martin Havas P4 in the AMs, as we get a replay of the number 72 car, the Radici Automobili Sanassi Racing driver Franco Girolami. This is Trofeo Pirelli AM head honcho with regards to the points, and that's Hendrik Viol, who came so close to taking the Pirelli AM championship last year. He's hoping to go one better this year and finish P1. And the Scuderia Prague driver, who we ride on board with now. What a lovely and brilliant and evocative shot this is. As you can see, pinch point perfect through that turn, as Hendrik Viol then crosses the timing line and goes P1 in class with a 1:43.496 ahead of Rafael Duran and Armin Arifpour. That, to me, looks like Michael Verhagen about to join us out on the track. And Hendrik is going to go again. Hendrik Viol, who has done just 3 laps. Armin Arifpour has done 6 laps for Martin Havas. And this is David Gosner on an improvement trajectory across Sector 1 and Sector 2. He is currently 4th fastest in class, but David Gosner hoping to potentially put in a P1 in class. I rather fear that might have Horlick's that. As he ran out to the gravel, he kept his foot in, to be fair, which takes an act of bravery as well as considerable prowess in being able to control the car. And despite that, he has gone quicker than anybody else in the session so far. And you've got to say, Nico, there was probably a couple of tenths that he still had available to him when you consider he would have had to lift a little to try and control that car.
For sure. I mean, let's see if race control deems that he exceeded the track limits there. Sometimes they say, well, actually, if you didn't get a benefit, we'll allow it. Let's see. For the moment, the time stands, and very, very good lap time, very good pace from David Gosner, as you said. Quicker than anybody at this stage. Hendrik Viol is our points leader. Michael Verhagen, who we just saw come out of pit lane just a lap ago, he is the man on form, however. Had a perfect Valencia, took every single point that he could. Both pole positions, both fastest laps, 2 race wins. And that vaulted him up from further down the order all the way into P2. So he's the closest competitor to Henrik Viol, who has snatched P1 in class from David Goster in the meantime, as Felix Hetzinger has gone quicker than anybody. Talking about informed driving at Valencia, Jasin Ferati.
He was. Jasin Ferati, perhaps delivered in Valencia what we've been expecting of him all season long. And Jasin Ferati will want to continue that, and indeed does so, going 1.2 seconds quicker than anybody else, Nico. That's 1.41244 for Jasin Ferati. And he was sliding the car around on his quest to get to that time. So Jasin Ferati for Emil Ferrari Racing goes P1.
Yeah, and it was in Valencia after race 1 where Jasin said, well, we found something in the car. Expect us to be here meaning the winner's circle, very frequently. And he followed that up on Sunday, and he's following that up already in the early stages of this timed session, P1. Let's see where it will end. We're only 10 minutes away from the end of this qualifying session. We still got like 7-8 drivers who haven't even set a time. And among them are the likes of Björn Grossman, Michael Verhagen, Dylan Medler, Jill Renman you can also count, because his time is like half a minute, not half a second, half a minute off the pace. So lots of drivers who still need to do something, including Marco Zanazzi, who was relegated in the championship standing to P3 by Michael Verhagen after that forgettable Valencia weekend.
Here is Hanno Laskowski, the Emil Ferrari Racing driver, running the telemetry on his car, and you can see what gear he's using, what speed he's accruing, and the fact that he's got cars ahead of him, one of which is David Akabadze, I believe. And that's the first car that Hanno Laskowski will come up across. And he's done personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Loving this onboard lap with Hanno Laskowski. Driver that hails from Berlin and drives for Emil Ferrari Racing. As he heads towards the timing beam now, Hanno Laskowski improves 2 places in class, goes from P7 to P5. Well done, Hanno. And well done to the Emil Ferrari Racing team, who's Jasin Ferati, their driver. Well, Felix Hetzinger has got within 9/10 of Jasin Ferati, so his pole position isn't necessarily assured or concreted quite yet.
No, including the likes of Björn Grossman, who hasn't set a meaningful time. He is on a flying lap. Others who are fairly close. Not a lot challenging for pole position for the time being, but lots of personal bests all across the board in Pirelli and Pirelli Am. Michael Verhagen has put it on P3 provisionally in class, but that's still 7 spots overall away from David Goster, who has recaptured P1 in category.
Can I make mention of 2 things? Quinn Veitlersbach, I can see from one of our feeds into our studio here, is actually out of the car and will not be going again as Scuderia Prague look on at what Henrik Viol is doing out there. The other noteworthy mention is the fact that we've not seen anything meaningful yet from the returning North American driver, Dylan Medler, who is a Trofeo Pirelli driver who sits right at the bottom of our timing screens at the moment. Those 2 things I just wanted to mention. I'm really surprised that Quinn Veitlersbach has settled for what is effectively P4 in class. Marco Zanazzi is improving. 3. How many laps has he done now? 3. So on his 3rd lap, Marco Zanazzi then trying to conserve the tyres. Armin Arafor has also parked his car as well. So with just under 7 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, it remains Jasin Ferati, the quickest of the Pirelli drivers, David Goster, the quickest of the Am drivers, followed by Henrik Viol. 1 or 2 drivers have had lap times deleted because of track limits. Jill Renman is one of them. Very surprisingly, Björn Grossman another one.
Yeah, he just exceeded the track limit. if there is a saving grace, it was in the turn. It was in turn 1, so he knew it directly, immediately lifted, and that means he didn't overstress the tires through that lap. That wouldn't count anyway. So I expect him to go again. Jasin Ferati now in the pits. Felix Herzing in the pits. Felix Herzing, remember, was on a winning streak of, if I remember correctly, 6 races, 7 races actually, and before he was unseated by one of the drives of the year, Vincenzo Scarpetta, clawing second by second, and eventually making a dramatic overtake at the end of the race 2 at Brno.
I was feeling that it's also a little bit faster possible, but I was like, take this and go home.
Armin Arif, Paul.
Well, that's great to hear it. I mean, sorry for pausing, but it was just great to hear it and get it directly. Oh, you can see how traffic plays into this.
Laskovsky then tucked in behind the number 77 car of Gilles Renmans. And I think it was Michael Verhagen that came through like a speeding bullet past both of them. Of course, you know, every driver out there on track, they're not going to intentionally impede any other driver that's on a hot lap. They can't just make their cars disappear off the track either. So, Hanno Laskovsky then, the ML Ferrari racing driver, comes into the pit lane feeling probably that he's done the maximum that he can do. See what he is able to do. Felix Herziger has just come out of the pit lane again with 4.5 minutes remaining. The best that Felix Herziger is going to get out of this is probably 2 timed laps. He obviously feels, as now we see Dylan Medler out on track, who I had made mention of the fact that Dylan left it right until the very last part of the session before he came out. But he is out there now, and never discount the driver of the number 15 car from the collection, Miami.
Absolutely. Björn Grossman was briefly in the pits as well. He has come out again, so some of the drivers still feel like there is something to be gained in the dying stages of this qualifying session, as now, I want to say, a third of the drivers have come back into the pit. So what was a very, very, very busy track is now slightly less dense with 296 challenge cars. Will that be the key factor in allowing the likes of Felix Herziger or Björn Grossman to make a final launch for pole position? We will find out. Dylan Medler, also one of the candidates still looking, and with the personal improvement, not a big improvement in class, but he overtook Marco Zanazzi, a AM driver. But since they will line up on the grid the way that they qualifying with a mix of categories, if that's the result, that could be significant. But there is Marco Zanazzi trying to respond.
I can tell you that Jasin Ferati is out of the car and walking down the pit lane. I can see from one of the feeds into our studio here, so he's clearly content with the 141.244 that he's delivered. In fairness, he is the only driver that has placed a car in the 141s. Felix Herziger has got as close as he can get, but that is still quite some tenths away from where he needs to be, but he is trying to improve. And as you can see, a number of drivers still out there, including Marco Sanassi, who perhaps was wrong-footed by that car, which I think may have been Rafael Duran. Here is Marco Sanassi then. P3 at the moment for the driver that was very, very dominant in the early stages of the season this year in Trofeo Pirelli Am, and he breaks the timing pin with no improvements, so he will try and go again. Just taking a look at the laps tally, some drivers have been out there and done lap time numbers in the 9 for Martin Havas. Quite a number of drivers on 6 laps, including Felix Herziger, some on 7, some on 8. Now, the reason we're mentioning this, and Rafael Duran has done 10 laps incidentally, is the more laps you do, of course, the more you're taken out of the Pirelli P0s, which perhaps leaves you a little bit more vulnerable in the race. Felix Herziger is obviously feeling determined to try and find the 9 1/3 tenths that were missing. And I suspect we'll go again because, well, personal best through the final sector, but he was still 1.2 seconds down on the time of Jasin Ferati as he goes past the speed cam now.
Yeah, Björn Grossman is also pushing, and there we pick him up. A little bit of a sideways moment, still on trajectory for an improvement, but I mean, after 2 sectors, he's almost a full second off. So whatever Jasin Ferati in the Björn Grossman with a sideways moment, that's not very typical of him, but he controlled it, which is typical of him. Let's see, P5 should still be a lower number. No, actually not. He lost a lot of time in that final sector, almost a full second. Whatever Emil Frey and Jasin Ferati found in that car driver combination, it certainly has traveled well from Valencia to Barcelona.
This was Björn Grossman, who's perhaps that full opposite lock moment reinforces just how much the tyres are suffering with the tarmac temperature. There's Nobuhiro Imada, we can see to the left-hand side of our picture, just looking on at what the drivers are doing. He is currently 5th fastest, I think, gone on underneath our radar a little bit there, so good effort from Nobuhiro. This is David Akabadze for Scuderia Monte Carlo, who's currently 11th fastest in the all-yellow car, and the checkered flag is out on the session, and I don't see anyone setting purple sectors. Our order is got. It'll be Jasin Ferati from Felix Herziger, from Gilles Renman, from Quinn Vidlisbach, and Björn Grossman for our Pirelli drivers. For our AM drivers, David Gosner, Hendrik Viol, Marco Zanassi, Michael Verhagen, effectively second row start in class. But of course, when we mix all the Pirelli and Pirelli AM cars up on the grid, that does make a difference. And for the likes of Marco Zanassi and Michael Verhagen, they've got 4 Pirelli cars ahead of them before they can get to Hendrik Viol, if you like.
Absolutely, and I mean, 9.5 tenths almost as we take our look at our pole setter in Pirelli AM, David Gosner. Great to see him back as a regular competitor. He's been part of the challenge for so many years, and there is the dominator of this second wave of the season, effectively, after Felix Herziger held that title for a few rounds of the championship. Now it's looks like Jasin Ferati. This is the car that Giacomo Altoe. No, I think not. It's a new car, and you can see that because there are not the technical check markers on the car. So it's a new car, but obviously it's the same team that engineered Giacomo Altoe last year, and they have now really found the groove, it seems. And he did only 6 laps compared to 8 for Felix Herziger, so good driving, efficient driving. David Gosner did 7. And that's effectively what most of the cars and drivers did. Quinn Vidlisbach, very efficient, 4 laps only. Did it very early, P4 in class. So good showing from him and his team. We'll see what that brings him for the race.
Of course, Quinn Vidlisbach is going to have a couple of AM drivers ahead of him when it comes to the race. But we will bring you the full classification in just a few moments' time on screen in graphics for you. Here it is. Jasin Ferati then, P1, and P1 by a huge margin ahead of Felix Herziger. Best of the AM drivers, David Gosner, then it is Gilles Renman, Hendrik Viol, Quinn Vidlisbach, Björn Grossman. Franco Girolami, a very good showing to put it P8 overall. And then it's Dylan Medler, who left it late into the session, Marco Zanassi, Michael Verhagen, Vincenzo Scarpetta, Max Mugelli, Nobuhiro Imada, and Angelo Fontana. And they're ahead of Danilo Del Favro, Andrew Morrow, Hanno Laskowski, Herbert Guys. Out of position, Herbert, I would have said. David Akabadze, Rafael Duran. Then it was Otto Blank ahead of Armin Arifpour and Martin Havas. So our Pirelli and Pirelli AM qualifying is done. Make sure you join us for what is going to be a scintillating race from those 2 categories a little later this afternoon. Bye-bye for now.